everybody. Welcome to the Punch Up Pod with Lila and Pat. Happy Sunday. Pat, how are you, my friend?
Sunday fun day. It's kind of the worst day of the week because work starts tomorrow. But and I had a glorious lazy. I took Thursday and Friday off, so I'm actually ready to get back to work, which is the rarest of rare.
Eager worker beaver. I love that. Yeah, Sundays always just feel a little depressing. Although when you work on a Sunday, it kind of makes the roll into Monday feel less daunting somehow.
True. How was your world?
Look at you, social niceties. It's good. Just kind of very, very lazy. I have both sons home from college, which is lovely. And, they're both working. So we're all just kind of socially isolating in the house on our own. But it's nice to have everybody under the same roof for a few weeks.
Can I speak to the kiddos? They're probably not watching, but don't give your mom COVID, please, kids.
Thank you.
Pretty please.
God damn it. I don't know what to do. They take masks with them wherever they go. And unless I'm with them, I cannot guarantee that they are always wearing them. And it's very frustrating. But so far, knock on wood, we're all doing okay. So I'm just going to keep knocking wood. And luckily, both of them work outdoors. So it's more, like coaching and stuff like that, or in big spaces with like one or two clients. So, but it's hard. It's hard to enforce things when people are, at least by the numbers, adults. You know what I mean?
I do. And especially with kids, it would be impossible if I was a kid. I mean,
yeah, with no end in sight and with nobody else doing it, including every single leader. And it sucks. And they think I'm crazy, which is why mandates are so important. But we'll get into all of that because we are very excited to have a guest on tonight, Miss Taylor Lorenz. Should we bring her on right away, and then we can ask you to do your we got you mid text.
Oh, hi, how's it going?
Hi, welcome. I'll read the little tech and online culture journalist who has covered digital culture for the Washington Post, The Daily Beast, Business Insider, The Atlantic, and The New York Times. Your book, Extremely Online, was a national bestseller last year, and you currently write the tech and online culture newsletter, User Mag, as well as being the host of Power User Pod. You are a busy, busy woman. How are you, and welcome?
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. We'll let you finish your
Sorry, I'm just trying to get rid of course, as soon as I log on, somebody's like, I just needed to. It's fine.
Retort.
I don't want somebody to get locked out of something. It's all good.
Hopefully you're mid-Twitter war.
Yeah, you have a lot of people focused on you at all times, it seems.
Yes, including my family members, which is who I was texting with. But
how are you?
Good. Yeah.
It's a lot to have, like, it feels sometimes like the whole internet is focused on you. And although I will say, like, a lot of people are thrilled for your voice and your conviction, but there are a lot of people who seem like gleefully to want to take you down every chance they get.
Yeah, it's really weird. It's just weird. It's weird to have people so incredibly obsessed. I was literally just on the phone earlier with the head of podcasting at Vox because my podcast is currently distributed through Vox Media, and they've been refreshing. Like, my show launched a year ago, and they've been refreshing the marketing pages on like the marketing carousel deep on the marketing pages on the Vox Media podcast website. Okay. This is something that, like, unless you're an ad sales representative, like, why are you even on there? But because my podcast was removed, 9 months, or, it launched over 9 months ago, it's been cycled out in favor of newer podcasts, which they're marketing currently.
Right.
And I had to leave a friend's birthday celebration today to talk to a media reporter for an hour because they said, we found out that your show was removed, and that means that actually you're being canceled because of what you said about the United Health CEO. Like, what are you
But that's
talking about? This
yeah,
has been
that's
off
that's
that website for a month. And also, like, what do you mean canceled? Like, my podcast is coming out on Thursday. What are you talking about? Like,
yeah, very
anyway,
strange.
but it's
And people do like the drama. There's just a lot of drama to be had.
just made up drama. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Well, okay, since you mentioned it, because we have so many different things we want to address with you, but let's get right into that because that seems like the latest brouhaha for you, although I have maybe missed a more recent one, but I think that that's the latest one.
Yeah. Can
Yeah,
I just say I was just looking for clips for tonight's show about the CEO. Obviously UHC health executive or CEO murdered. And I just randomly came across Chris Cuomo bringing you up in one of his clips. I don't know if you saw that one.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
there's so
did.
many out there, but like I wasn't searching for you, and I came across you among this story,
Jump
even though we
scare.
knew you were part of it already, but separately.
it's so crazy, because the whole internet actually agrees with you and both sides,
Yeah.
like the left and the right, as much as I think they like to cast it as some like lefty thing that we're so happy that a CEO got offed. Like even underneath, I think it was Ben Shapiro saying that there were hundreds of comments like, nope, not just the left, it's the right too. I've been a lifelong conservative and I am, had the worst time dealing with my health insurance. Like nobody likes these people. CEOs are so scared, wealthy people are so scared that Elon Musk is actually seeing his own kid for the first time like in forever. He's like carrying him around like a shield. I've never
I
seen
watched
his
a
kid
TikTok
before.
video of somebody saying the baby was on the head to protect his head.
And then he's like holding me in front of him at the press conference, like that. I mean, that poor kid, but like I've never even seen him. So, but like they're scared. So
Good.
yeah,
They should be more
yeah,
scared.
absolutely. And it's crazy that they're offended that that's how we all feel when they praise these people who make millions of dollars off of deciding just to kill almost 100,000 people every year.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's crazy. But I just think I mean, there's this content creator, Amani Barbarian, who makes a lot of amazing content about disability, but
Yes.
also about the media. Yeah. She made a video on TikTok yesterday or the day before. And it was like the media has like kind of like a people problem where like they don't it's just becoming increasingly clear, I think, that the media, as in like the traditional media, is just grossly out of touch with the American public.
Yeah.
And I think times like this really cement that, where people can see, oh, these media companies, like they don't exist to challenge power, not in any meaningful way.
Not at all. Or to find out what anybody on the street is thinking, like regular people. It's like the
No.
economy is going great. CEOs are wonderful.
Yeah, shut up about inflation. This was
Yeah.
the same media that was like, the economy is great because the stock market's going up. So all of you guys better shut up
Yeah.
that your rent has doubled. And
How much
your
of it, since you cover pop culture a lot, how much of it do you think really is not being in step and being out of touch versus intentionally gaslighting the public? Because it's got to be a mix of both.
I think it's both, but I think a lot of it from the super top is intentionally gaslighting. I think they've hired a lot of useful idiots that will just spout shit. Like, I mean, I think Chris Cuomo like truly believes that when he's saying those things, but I think it's these people that it's like, this is why you're in the position that you're in, because you're not going to be in that position if you start saying things that I say. That's for sure.
Right. I'm shocked that even at the DNC, he said the thing about like, I think he felt like he had been excluded, right? But he's like walking the floor and saying, well, all the, multimillionaire billionaires are up in those fancy VIP suites and we're down here and there's a real disconnect problem.
Please.
That's the only
he
time
would
I've
be
ever
right up in those suites. He knows everyone
Yeah.
in those suites.
Of course he does. But he said those words. It was like for a moment, maybe he was trying to knock some sense. I have no idea, but I was shocked
I think
to hear
he
him
probably like, it's like how these journalists get really salty when their access gets denied. Because fundamentally, these people are access journalists. And so what they're jealous of is the access.
Right.
Meanwhile, you have people like Hassan Piker that were actually booted out of the DNC and had their credentials revoked for, speaking about to the members of the uncommitted movement or whatever. It's like, those are the people that are actually being censored, Chris. Like, you just didn't get your VIP suite this year.
Right. Right. Exactly. So so anybody who's not terminally online the way we are, there was, so we all saw this killer who, sorry, I'm getting to your part of it where you come in, where you say that you woke up to CEO down on your, your TikTok or Twitter was all over the place. And you wrote about civility and respect online. And the other tweet that like people were freaking out about on, the CEO side and people wonder why we want these executives dead, because it was the announcement that Blue Cross Blue Shield was going to only pay for anesthesia for a certain number of arbitrary hours during operations and then just cut it off and you'd have to pay for your own or just go without. And that really rankled people. Like that is where the civility police, tone policing come in.
I mean, it's just funny because there are other people saying these things with much bigger audiences than I have actually. Ken Klippenstein and like other friends of mine like are very vocal and have actually bigger platforms than I do. And they say these things, but there's not 70 headlines about them in an hour because there's not this obsession over them.
Yeah.
I mean, Eddie Wong from Vice, who you like wrote this thing today that was like way more hardcore than anything I said. I doubt that he's going to be canceled. It's just like, I'm not to be like, woe is me, but like, there's something about these people that like really pisses. It's like when I say it, it's like, oh my God, how could she? It's like, this is how most people feel. Like, have you logged onto the internet and looked around? Like what I'm saying is not like out of step. And
we have 100 graphics of people who are like rejoicing about this or, saying like, oh my God, the app's going to shut down because this guy's so hot or what. Like, I mean, people are, loving like.
I mean, and just look back to the orcas. We were all rooting for orcas, in the submarine. I mean, this is not
right.
It's like today.
It's the same type of thing, but I mean, back then they were mad too. Remember, they were like,
"Oh,
how could you advocate for violence?" Like that's what they always say. It's like when people were like, put them all in submarines and stuff.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, you can directly connect this assassination with Blue Shield changing policy immediately.
Exactly. No, these people should be more scared. They're killing people. These are murderers.
They are
murderers. These people are murdering thousands of Americans through denying them life-saving coverage. And I just think it's very disingenuous to act like these are just innocent people.
100%. And also, the line gets so fuzzy, like all of Obama's staff left to then become part of establishments that specifically fought against universal health care, right? Mm-hmm. So like, that's a choice and those are the like good guys, right? And then they take offense at you making these comments or anybody making these comments. And I do think there was a great article written, and now I am going to totally forget his name, but about how academia exists mostly so that people with these, good liberal backgrounds.
Oh, yes, I read that in the Atlantic. Yeah.
Yeah, in the Atlantic. Yeah. Learn how to sort of, compartmentalize their wonderful liberal values with the repulsive careers that they choose, hedge fund managers or health insurance claim adjusters or whatever, working at Lockheed Martin or whatever you do. And somehow they hope that they're like espousing, equal rights for everybody or whatever, makes up for the fact that they are directly implicated in killing people, in mass murder. I mean, truly. Andy Slavitt, Jon Favreau, anybody who
Andy Slavitt,
I mean,
mortal enemy.
Like specifically, or just
which is one of many people who I hate.
Yeah, I mean, me too. But like, he doesn't know who I am, so like, I hate him in my own little world. Where did it? Okay, so I want to. Well, Pat, before I sort of wanted to go backwards to like where this all started, possibly with Taylor. But do you have anything?
Sure. Yeah. No, I have nothing to add except I hate Jon Favreau more than Slavitt, but that's just personal choice.
It's a real tie for me. They're awful. They're both just awful. I mean, and I'm thrilled that people like David Sirota keep pointing out, the responsibility that Obama and all of his sycophants have for where we are right now. Obviously the right does, like, we know that they're disgusting, they're horrible, but there still are tweets up of Joe Biden saying in our country, healthcare is a human right. Well, you can't use that language when you're also the person who says, that you defeated the socialist and you veto Medicare for all if it ever came across.
Yeah, and universal health care would be a pox on his dead son who didn't have health care.
Exactly. So where did this all start? Like in my memory, it was with the libs of TikTok where people sort of started like coming after you.
Oh
when
God,
you
no,
revealed who
it
that
was way
It was
before
even
that.
before that.
No,
Oh, okay.
that was like nothing. Yeah.
What's your
okay.
evil origin story? Let's hear it.
Tell us how it all started.
No, I mean, I write about online influence. So I write about the content creator, independent media ecosystem, and essentially how power is wielded online. And that's been my beat since I started as a blogger in 2009. I wrote a whole book on it called Extremely Online, which is behind me somewhere.
Yes.
And so, I mean, I covered the 2016 election. I was working for The Hill, a political organization back then. And so I covered the Trump election. And I was actually at the Hilton in the room when Trump won that night, because I was one of very few reporters that got credentialed for Trump, because I thought 100% he's going to win. It was like crazy.
Right.
And it was really like the Trump, like that first Trump term where you started to see people like this amassing of power on these right-wing people like really start to turn against the media. And that was because I write about the thing they want the most, which is online power.
Right.
I'm like really target number one for that. Since, I mean, also just like there's been a ton of viral things. So like I covered Charlottesville. I had a live stream at the time. I was live streaming to 3 million people, something for The Hill. And I ended up live streaming. I was right in front of the car when James Fields plowed his car down and ended up live streaming Heather Heyer's death, which was horrible. But I was assaulted that day as well, right after in the chaos when Heather's dying. Like this guy was coming over and assaulting members of the media. I turned around and grabbed him and started screaming because the police were coming. And I ended up in the police station when they brought James Fields in. And so I was the only reporter in the police station when they brought him in and whatever was covering it and stuff. And that started this conspiracy about me that I was a deep state plant. And that and then I went straight from that to Milo Yiannopoulos Free Speech Week. I covered a lot, and it sort of just started to build. And then Tucker Carlson started doing tons of segments about me.
Because he didn't like that you were just revealing the huge influence of the far right.
Yeah, because I write about these online figures, and I wrote a lot about Gamergate. I write about online attention and how it's weaponized. I have to be honest, I don't know. It's not a beat. It's a beat that I was very alone in and kind of remain mostly alone in. So there's not a lot of, and nobody else on my beat even has a fraction of the audience that I have that even writes about these things. So and I'm a woman and I'm outspoken and I like to troll and so it's like, I think it's just a perfect storm.
I think you get a lot of the liberals coming for you now because that's what they do when they appreciate you going for the right and you pivot to just being, we're attacking anyone who's dishonest and we're going after any abuse of power. Immediately the liberals will hate you more than they hate the right. I mean, so you sort of branded yourself in their minds as someone who goes after Fox News and the right-wing media. And that's why you're especially hated by a lot of these people now. I mean,
and then I'm hated by leftists because I say that COVID is real and we should have solidarity. And it's just there's everybody has a bone to pick. I think it's all very dumb. I think we can align on certain issues like healthcare. I think America is actually quite united on a lot of broad policy things, even if they don't realize it.
I mean, clearly, if nothing else, this assassination revealed how much it is, the 99% against the 1%, right? We all came together for this glorious couple days. And then, last night when I started realizing okay, there was martial law declared, then, okay, gone. But then the fall of, the dissolution of the French, political world and Syria being over. And I was like, oh, wow, maybe this was all just, it happened, but a psyop to get us all distracted while they just take over the whole world, which, because for a second I was like, oh, they're going to fear us and they know that we hate them. And
they're just going to buy more security.
Yeah. They'll put their kids in front of their chest and over their heads.
Yeah. I mean, I think we need It's hard because any sort of political leader on the left that starts to gain traction, obviously I was a huge Bernie supporter, like, is kneecapped by the Democratic establishment and the donor class. So I think it's really hard to amass political power.
It really is, which also I think is what leads people to feel some like glimmer of hope, even though, of course, I don't think people should go around assassinating people that they don't like on the street. And while this CEO,
Agree to
I
disagree.
think reached a certain cutoff or a point above which I feel like I'm not going to lose sleep at all over that. But like, we all have different cutoff points, and it's not a great idea that this is how we handle things, although politically there's no avenue for us. So like, what is the avenue?
Yeah, when the public is so ignored, this is the inevitable outcome. And without this outcome, at some point, they don't listen, pay attention. Like, this has more eyes on the situation now. Like, they know they need to do something, even if it's more gaslighting, more lying to the public, more whatever. We're not like, the next 4 years are going to be wild. I think we're in exponential crazy town. Like, we're going to be.
Well, you know what's so scary? I actually think the opposite's going to happen. I just think I saw once again, liberals are reviving COSA, the Kids Online Safety Act, a really, really, really dangerous censorship bill that is literally a widespread censorship bill. Like, it passed in the guise of like cracking down on big tech and protecting child safety. Nothing about this bill protects child safety. It wants like age verification on everything, meaning you'd have to tie your government ID to your online activity. It's so deeply authoritarian, all the stuff that we criticize China for. And, but liberals and conservatives are aligned. I mean, it's the same thing with the TikTok ban. The internet, as I've written about so much, the internet is a real threat to this power structure, and a free and open internet is democratic. And there's, and they do not want that. And so that's why you're seeing you're seeing the TikTok ban, you're seeing a lot of things like COSA and these horrible state bills in Florida and Utah cracking down on online speech.
And I agree with you on that. I mean, obviously they're going to try to implement more censorship, like the cop cities being built, and that's where we're headed. But I don't think you can put down all the people upset about all these issues. I think we're in an alternative media state where they can't gaslight us like they used to. I really don't think they can.
I hope so.
So, the thing that's so crazy is, though, as you're saying, is like the liberals are the ones, as they are saying, oh, this is the end of democracy. We're, Trump's a fascist. He's going to take away all of our rights. They're the ones who are championing COSA, the TikTok ban, the, deplatforming of people, the definition of anti-Semitism, the, nonprofit organizations being labeled terrorists. They're passing all that now, and then just handing fascism over, like all the mechanisms for fascism over them.
They're fascists. Like, they don't give a fuck. Like, you actually thought that fascism was a threat, and you really thought Trump was this unique evil, you wouldn't pass these types of laws. But you are doing that because you ultimately are. It's all like they're all just part of the same elite system. And again, that's why it's so crucial that we fight for online civil liberties, because the internet is truly the most powerful thing in our lifetimes that could ever challenge that system. So
will you explain to people what COSA is, just for anybody who doesn't know?
Yeah, so it's the Kids Online Safety Act. It is this terrible piece of legislation that it was like in the Senate, then it got struck down by the House, and then now there seems to be, Elon Musk tweeted about it today. It is this law, it's this law that sort of is very broadly written, and it's aimed on quote unquote child safety. Nothing about this bill, just like the TikTok ban doesn't protect us from China getting our data, nothing about this bill protects children. It is really being pushed by this guy, Jonathan Haidt, a right-wing pseudoscience guy who wrote this book called The Anxious Generation. Do not read this. There's a great If Books Could Kill episode just debunking every single bit of right-wing bullshit in that book that it pushes. But they've really, the liberals and the right have been very aligned, and I've covered this for the past year on this, pushing this moral panic around kids and technology, and this idea that tech is behind the youth mental health crisis. Every single major researcher, every single top researcher that actually studies this exact topic has said publicly, and many of them came together and issued this 82-page report saying this just earlier this year, could not be further from the truth. In fact, there's a positive correlation between social media use and mental health among children. It's the adults that have the problems with social media, and that in terms of like they cannot separate it. And
Right, yeah.
and we know the causes of the youth mental health crisis. Okay, it has a huge
Lockdowns. No, I'm
like-
kidding. I'm
I
totally
was just going to
joking.
say,
absolutely not, right?
this is
It's
just
I'm
like
totally
lockdown. The science says,
it's
you
the
know, they
same
put
thing
that
with the it's the
they
same
put that-
pseudoscience bullshit. Yes,
they put that spin out that suicides were up with kids because of the lockdown.
Which is a lie.
Which is
And they were
obviously
actually down.
They were down, of course. I mean, this is the thing, right? They use you see this sort of moral panics always thrive around like children, protect the children, save the children. This is
Right.
what fascism is built on. And it's this paternalism. And so they want to pass this thing called the Kids Online Safety Act that is a censorship bill. The main thing it would push is age verification. The only way to verify who's actually 14 versus 16, which by the way, they cannot do through any sort of algorithmic thing because people actually, there is no universal age. People actually age quite differently at different rates. And there's a
Right.
pretty broad range. Like it's hard for an AI.
Yeah.
There is no sort of, so you have to get government ID basically. And so it's about forcing people to, which they are going to have to potentially do, is like tie their government ID to their internet activity and remove anonymity. One other thing, I went to the Content Creator Day at the White House in August. You might remember because I posted War Criminal from it.
We have so many graphics of you, but it's better to
It's
hear
so
from
funny.
you, but
My
we've
friend
got
made
it
a
on
meme and
there.
I posted it. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's great.
but that entire day, it was Neera Tanden up in front of hundreds of content creators saying,
Jeez.
who wants to remove anonymity from the internet? Raise your hand if you wish you could unmask every single troll. And getting these dumbass people with millions of followers, with all due respect, on board with this. They want surveillance and they want censorship. And that's why you see Democrats passing things like mask bans as well.
Absolutely. I'm just going to put this up quickly so everybody can see. There we go. And this John Levine really had it out for you. He
was like, Lizzie, let me just say something. I have been calling Biden a war criminal publicly for a year, since well after October 7th, when we started innocently bombing people. Like this is not a secret. The only reason this is shared to my close friends is because I didn't make this graphic. My friend added that caption to a group chat with a bunch of other friends in it. He works adjacent to Democratic politics. And I was like, hey, can I take this from the group chat and share it? He was like, sure, just put it on close friends. But it's like, it's just so weird because they're having a moral panic that I did this on close friends. I'm like, can you go to my Twitter feed and look, please?
I mean,
at everything I've posted in the past year.
Like, and many of us have been doing it, even longer, since, the Iraq war. I mean, I'm sure you have also.
Well, I was involved in those protests too. But that's another thing. And I mean, I own
the ICC,
fuckyeahcommunism.tumblr.com from 2010. Like, there's no
it's
he's
just a war criminal. Like, of course he's a war criminal.
All of them are war criminals. This is what America is built on. It's an imperialist nation.
Yeah.
But of course they have to do the fake moral panic.
And it's just amazing. I don't know what he's tweeted about the 300,000 Palestinians who've been slaughtered, or the Lebanese villages.
So
of course he is, which is why he doesn't think that that's a war crime and all of that. But it's a lot, especially when the people who are ostensibly, I mean, I've long since left the Democratic Party, but the people who are supposed to be the party of opposition would much rather, every chance they get, reach across the aisle with the fascists than do anything with the left flank of their party.
Yes.
Pat,
do we go on to more of this?
You were.
This is so funny. Can I just say, you guys, my first job was at the Daily Mail, my first ever media job.
So you really are right wing. No, I'm kidding.
Well, it was my first media. Actually, the editor-in-chief there was a huge mentor to me, and he's not, I don't think he's right wing or left wing. I think he's a populist and he's an opportunist, which there's something democratic about tabloid news that I love. But so when I was at the Daily Mail, they would give us these you'd have to write articles around paparazzi pictures, and they would just send you the paparazzi pictures, usually without context, and you would write the article around it. So you're basically writing fan fiction, and you would be like, Selena Gomez looks forlorn, just 6 months after, public spat with so-and-so. And it would always be weird to me because I'm like, well, but why? But she's getting coffee. What does this have to do with the thing that happened 4 months ago?
Right.
But now that I'm on the other side of it, I saw it myself because it was like, first of all, I left the Washington Post in October, which was something that I had been planning since June and posted about in June when my editor left, saying that I was planning to go independent, which whatever. And then, then like all these articles are like, Taylor Lorenz leaves after. I'm like, okay, 3.5 months after?
Right.
Yeah.
You're just on the clickbait wheel. They just flick it and they're like, let's do a Taylor Lorenz. What'd she tweet last week? Or
Instead of Taylor Lorenz leaves after her editor, who she literally went to the Washington Post to work with, left. It's just such a like.
It's like Mad Libs. They just take anything
framing.
From the past.
Also, because it's like the Post was very cool about it and very nice to me and very supportive of me, and like whatever narrative they're trying to push, like I hate to break it to them, I have a lot of criticisms of mainstream media, and if I was treated badly, I talk about it. But the Post was really actually very cool about everything and wonderful to me. So I can't hate on them, honestly.
We love Jeff Bezos,
but we won't regarding you. So.
Well, I will say
Jeff Bezos, but like
I
had a great experience at the Post because I had this amazing editor, and when he left, I just didn't have an editor, and I didn't want to start from zero with someone new when I plan to go independent anyway.
Yeah. Well, one of our favorites, Dr. Thrasher, I was very happy to see that he, gave you props and called you out as one of the best reporters of the generation on COVID and Gaza and capitalism and disability. And I thought that was really nice to see because, listen, obviously you have a thick skin, but it still kind of stinks when you're the focus so many times of people just lying or being crappy, right? So nice to see that he's on the right side of that. What do you think is the reason that so many people who call themselves leftists have completely abandoned COVID and talk about it in the past tense and make fun of you or me for wearing a mask? Like what do you think
we're
is
deep
going
state
on
here
there?
too, by the way, for our COVID views.
Yeah, it's really weird because, of course, they had complete solidarity in the beginning of the pandemic when they personally thought they were in danger.
Yeah.
I think it's selfish. I think ableism is a type of bigotry that is completely normalized on the left and always has been completely normalized on the left.
Yeah.
There's never been, racism and misogyny too, but I think that those have become more socially unacceptable for these people, whereas ableism is completely socially acceptable across the political spectrum. So I think that's a huge problem. I think they fundamentally, it's easier to fall into fascism. It's easier to believe that people are dying because they're weak. Like eugenics are the fundamental sort of
that's
core
the thing.
Ideals.
The true science behind it, they should all be scared. They should all be worried. They should all be protecting, it's a working class issue. So like even I understand ableism is their excuse for, it's only the sick and the weak falling by the wayside, that kind of thing. But truly, this affects everybody. And when you bring up, kids are a hot ticket, thing, like let's talk about what it's doing to kids. And
they don't
the
care.
left should be doing that.
They
right?
don't care. Of course, they should be doing it, but the only people talking about that are wellness influencers who are conveniently fascists, and they are the only ones that will acknowledge the ongoing harm of COVID. And I think that's a huge problem.
Yeah, like I didn't realize that. So because I didn't realize that. I mean, I know that they talk about the jab. Oh, did you get the jab? Did you get the jab? But like,
they attribute all of the problems of long COVID to the vaccine.
Right. And the void has created,
but they're the only ones even acknowledging that we have skyrocketing rates of heart attacks or strokes or cancers are going up. Like they're the only ones even acknowledging it. Of course, no, you're right that they're providing the wrong explanation for it, but they're acknowledging.
Like, he's overweight. It's all that. It's like get
or
off
other
things.
But it's like it's a huge problem that the liberals and left will not acknowledge it. Just like they won't acknowledge that vaccines don't stop transmission. They just won't acknowledge that.
Yep.
And that's a huge problem because you have to acknowledge it. When you don't, people don't trust you.
Yeah. They have to come up with an answer. And since the Believe Science Party is not explaining that, yes, you still have to mask even though you're vaccinated. And they spent a year lying about it and then telling everybody
the Believe Science Party also, lied about AIDS for decades. So
yeah, exactly. So I just lost my train of thought. I've had COVID once, and I'm going to blame my total brain fog on that. But in addition to the health stuff, which clearly like they all feel they're above because they have health insurance and they've had COVID a few times and they still feel fine. Although I will tell you that almost every podcaster I listen to on a regular basis sounds disgusting all the time. Like I can hear their phlegmy crap going all through their nose and mouth, and they always are red nose. They're always sick. They're just always sick. And like, like that, you can hear all that. But they always talk about COVID in the past and the crazies who are still wearing masks and all that kind of stuff.
I just don't get it because I'm severely immunocompromised, and my younger sister had cancer growing up and stuff, and like there was always like if she would mask, like you would mask in chemo wards, you would mask if you're a cancer patient. Like these people truly, I think it's also just such an insane level of privilege because these people actually don't have a lot of. It seems like they don't have direct contact with the medical system very much. They just go to urgent care and get some Z-Packs, but like they don't, they're very privileged in that way.
Absolutely. But also it is a labor issue, right?
No, it is a labor issue, but I'm saying like they don't give a fuck about the undocumented workers who also don't have access to health, who are just dying, but because they have phenomenal access to healthcare, they're living in a probably elite coastal city, whatever, just like me. They just think it doesn't affect them, and they have not interacted very much with the healthcare system. Everyone I know that actually interacts with the healthcare system is like, you want to do everything you possibly can to not be sick. And I just think of myself because I didn't do everything I could. I believed the Democrats, and that was the last time I'll ever believe the Democrats on anything. Like they just lied. I thought that if you got vaccinated, you couldn't get COVID because that's what they were telling people.
No, they lied. We were tracking it so closely that we were seeing that actually at this point, Israel was ahead of us. Like they were doing a pretty good job on things, and they were about 3 months ahead, and it was very clear. And then of course it's been revealed that they never even tested to see if it was like, killing the vaccine or killing the virus so that you couldn't spread it, right? Sterilizing it. So it was all a lie. But even before the lie actually was revealed, we could see what was happening in Europe and in Israel. And it was really clear. And also when Trump did his Operation Warp Speed, Democrats were saying you cannot vax only your way out of this. And then as you know,
before Joe Biden was president, and then we just had to ignore everything for the economy.
So the left ignoring the labor issues, also not just the medical issues, but like, there goes Medicare for all. What we could have
They've given up. If they start talking, they can't talk about COVID. Like they can't ever push Medicare for all again because they would have to talk about healthcare, and they don't want to talk about healthcare because they are fundamentally bought into this far right view on health where it's denialism.
It is a lot of denialism, which makes people feel so alone, which again brings us back to this assassination this week, because even so many of the people who were writing that they were sort of, enthusiastic about this week's development, they still they're anti all the things that I believe in and that Pat believes in, I think that you believe in. But like for a second, we were all united, and it was because of the way we're treated by the people at the top. And it's just interesting that they can't make those connections.
They keep voting for the people at the top. It's bizarre.
Yeah. And liberals have said that about the red states all the time. Oh, why do you keep? I mean, it's disgusting, but like, we'll see.
They say that all the time. I know.
And
but I think liberals and fascists are just completely aligned in, all of that stuff.
Yeah, 100%. Pat, anything you want to talk before we start? Maybe possibly move on. I don't know how long we've got Taylor here for, so I want to make sure.
Well, I just want to say I appreciate you being one of the few voices on COVID that's actually out there that has a large platform. There's so few. So I appreciate, you got a lot of crap for your book fair.
Oh, thank you. It was a book launch party for like a couple dozen friends a year and a half ago. I don't know why this was so dramatic, other than because I don't have my face mask on in some pictures, like, again, I'm outside. Not only that, but everyone PCR tested. It was like very safe.
Right.
These people were like, oh, and here you are without a mask. And it's like, yeah, again, I don't sleep with it glued to my face.
Right.
And if I'm around people that are safe, yes, I can. And actually, I spent quite a lot of time because spent 3 years writing this book and I wanted to like have a COVID safe event. And I had
Yeah.
also just gotten out of the hospital. So it was like, it was a really dicey time for my health. And yeah, it was just, people are so insane about that stuff, or they're
And
just so vicious.
I really think the people that protect themselves 99% of the time and are very good about it, we're going to have our moments, and it's our risk. Like, we're not putting the other people at risk in those moments.
It's
because
no. It's our risk. No, not
Right.
only that. I just want to make this clear too, Pat, because after that book party, I isolate, I test, even though everyone PCR tested had to isolate. Like, and again, these are my friends. These are people that
Right.
actually care about me. So like, they're very like,
you're like in a bubble. Remember when we used to talk
they
about
were like,
a
lot of my friends were like, we'll just make it a masked party. And I was like, no, like I really want one party because all my other book events are masked. But these are people that like, again, I isolate after, I take care after. I make sure that if I'm going to take this risk, it is a risk that I am only taking with my own health.
Right.
And that is not how these other people are operating.
Right. And the other thing is, all of these like wildly famous people who actually do everything that you listed, but hide it from people. Like anytime you see a behind the scenes shot on a film or TV show, everybody is masked except for the stars.
Yeah,
I know.
I'm on set. Literally, I go on set for things, for TV stuff all the time. It is still the norm. And
so for people to call you out on that, like they're not aware that this happens. Some of the more famous people have to be aware that this is what happens.
I don't know. I mean, the right wing, they don't do that, right? They don't have sets on the Daily Wire when they're filming. I haven't had anybody in like traditional entertainment call me out. I would be surprised if they did, because those people also take precautions and understand.
Two of the people who said shitty things are two of the podcasters who are always sick. So, I mean, they're journalists, but they're, you know, people who are always sick. Yeah.
Who are you talking about?
Some dirt.
It was Glenn Greenwald and Crystal Ball.
Oh, well, those people are, those aren't journalists. Those are just
like they podcast and they're always
just right-wing hack commentators. And Crystal Ball
Glenn
is like
used to be so good though.
Who? Glenn? Oh yeah, no. I mean, when I was against like in college and stuff in the 2000s, like he was great. I mean, he used to care about. He took a weird right turn and now he's lost the plot. One time he wrote this whole like 2,000 word conspiracy post about me where they doxed the wrong address, and he wrote this like, it was literally like fan fiction. It's like, Taylor Lorenz grew up here, she's elite, she's da-da-da, and it was all wrong. He also pushed the idea that my family controls the internet.
Yeah, they own the Wayback Machine.
Yeah, exactly. Even though that poor guy that actually runs it has said so many times, he's like, we're actually a nonprofit, and like Taylor has no affiliation. But same thing with Crystal Ball. I mean, Crystal Ball is like another one that I was like, oh, I used to think she was normal. She's just gone off the deep end. And like, I mean, the way that she's defended Mr. Beast, who has
I didn't know that.
Oh, she's aggressively defended Mr. Beast and all of this stuff. Meanwhile, Mr. Beast has committed gross, egregious labor violations, exploited people on set. I mean, he's like basically torturing people for money. And that's who Crystal Ball is so focused on defending. It's like he and who does Mr. Beast like, you know, idolize more than anyone? Elon. He wants to be the first YouTube billionaire.
Oh my God. I know. It's also bleak because I mean, like I still listen to them because I feel like there are times that
sometimes they like, it's like takes, a broken clock is right twice a day.
But it's very frustrating. And the COVID thing, they just love making fun of it. Like we're all, you know, deeply unserious and have some mental affliction for truly following the science. Like the people who come to, you know, conventions who are discussing long COVID, who are wearing N95s because they know the ramifications, right? Like those are the actual scientists, not Bhattacharya and Monica Gandhi but those are the people that now they all listen to. I mean, the Brownstone Institute and the Koch brothers won. Like they've just won
because it's fascism, and fascism is easier than not fascism. Like it is easier. It's easier to go along with conspiracism and denialism because it's comforting and it's easy and it allows you to
keep making money. Baby.
Yeah, make tons of millions of dollars like Glenn took from Rumble.
And to me, that's the really disgusting thing is that like without the left pushing this issue, who's going to push it? If the progressive left isn't going to hammer this home, who's going to do it? And, you know, podcasts in some ways are a mistake. although we're podcasters, but like when the left podcaster class represents the left and they don't bring this up because they don't want to annoy their Patreon viewers, it really is a problem because they're avoiding the issue for money at this point. And that turned a lot of them off, years ago to switch gears. And now they believe probably what they're saying, but like that was the impetus for avoiding it for so long for these people.
They kind of put themselves under that George Galloway umbrella of anti-COVID, anti-climate, anti-woke. So basically it's just like, populism and anti-war, but we'll throw our LGBTQ friends under the bus to do a big Rage Against the War Machine thing with fascists.
It's all just connected. You can't, it's all connected. Like disease is a tool of war. It always has, especially like with imperialist countries. Like it's just, you have to be, I mean, they're just bullshit. Like they're just bullshit influencers that nobody should listen to.
It is really disgusting. And especially because they talk about wanting to prosecute Fauci for a bioweapon.
That's so funny.
That they say is just a cult. Like what, like where are you going with that?
But it's the flat earthers. It's like when you are a conspiracy theorist, nothing has to make sense because you're inherently engaging in conspiracism. So, it doesn't have to make sense.
Sorry. We want to thank, Reflect the Sun. Thank you. 40 gift, twice 20 gifts. Thank you. And we see you have to go. Thank you so much. That is so kind. Cheers. Thank you. Oops. We both pushed the buttons at the same time. Pat and I run the whole
We have
show.
no producers.
It's just the two of us. Yeah. It's just us. So we wear all the hats. So that's incredibly frustrating. And it does make you feel really lonely out here. So it's nice to have voices who will keep on, I know you, are friends with Julia Doubleday, who we've had on a few times, who just wrote another great article.
She's great. We want to make her our COVID expert who comes on
regularly. She's phenomenal. And she's the type of person that these mainstream outlets like the New Republic and stuff should be publishing. Instead, they're publishing denialists.
Yeah, Leanna Wen or whoever. Although, where's Leanna Wen? Like,
no, she's still writing at the Washington Post.
Oh, yeah. Because she got like long COVID, I think. I mean, she didn't say that's what it was.
I wish her a very, very long COVID.
Gone for a long time after she told everybody to just go out and make money for their employers.
Yeah. She's still posting bad stuff.
And Ashish Shah, who is my classmate. Crazy enough. Some of the worst people I went to school with. All right. I'm looking for Pat. Take it from here for a second. Oh, Made. Do you want to talk about Made at all? I know we don't have you for very much longer, but that was the sort of like next level after all the COVID stuff when that book launch tweet came out. And then they're talking about Made legislation. And listen, I understand that there's nuance and there's lots of different things that people can discuss about it, but it got really ugly really fast.
Well, they were just very quickly, leftists just were like, disabled people should rot and die, because this one woman whose husband died of cancer, she wanted to weigh in on it in like a really uninformed way. And it really concerns me that we would ever listen to that woman, because no hate to her, but like caregivers generally are not universally benevolent. Not to say that she, of course, I'm sure loved her husband, but like we should center the people that are actually dying, and those are generally disabled people, and not the sort of benevolent caregivers whose people who died can't speak for themselves. Like that's a very dangerous path to go down. And you see this a lot. Like the response to that was very similar to like the TERF community and the men's rights community. Mm-hmm. Both the TERF and the men's rights community will have these influencers that say very bigoted, egregious things, really harmful things, usually pegged to some news or law or something. Trans people will respond saying, you're wrong, and this is bad, and this is harmful, and XYZ. And then those people double down. Trans people escalate usually, or women or whoever they're sort of antagonizing and being bigoted to. And then they claim, oh my God, you guys are so mean. Look at what the cruel, intolerant left. Look at these trans people. Look at these women. And that is what the leftists are now. That's crazy, because that's always been a very right-wing. That's a right-wing tactic.
It's like the Bernie bro tactic, right?
Yeah, but that, right, exactly. But then But then they sort of try to claim that it's the marginalized group that's the villain. It's like, no, the marginalized group is not the villain.
Yeah.
So
it's
I mean,
very
that kind of
Darbo.
reminds me, and I kind of want your take on it, but like we saw a resurgence of the use on the left of the word retarded.
Yeah.
You know? And do you think there was a strategic move? Because I saw a lot of Democrats sort of amplifying the people that were using that kind of language to like bully, like to say we're bullies too. Like I thought it was a strategic design by Democrats.
No, I mean, that were a lot of slurs, not just that one. The N word is completely back on the far right. When you look at right-wing online spaces,
But
which
the
I spend
left.
No, but so what I'm talking about is like for years, ever since Trump's first term, in right-wing online spaces, all of those words were normalized again in a way that they actually were not in a lot of ways in the early 2010s. They were still stigmatized and really just on 4chan. And even then it was still not very common the way that it is now. So with Trump's first term, you saw it normalized on the right. Then you started to see it normalized in a lot of more left spaces and Democratic spaces who felt like, oh yes, I'm the, now I can say it again. Again, it's all evidence of these people's shift to the right.
Yeah.
But
do you think the Democrats on some level were behind that shift because they were running
I think
a campaign
the leftists, because the people that embraced it before the Democrats were leftists, like anti-woke, quote unquote, leftists.
Right.
That were like,
I think that was the connection the Democratic Party wanted out there as the subtext of like, we're not pushing these leftist issues anymore. So let's get the online left to be less woke so that we can appear more appealing.
I don't think that came from Democrats. I think online leftists completely, they overlap with a lot of online right spaces because, and I consider this myself a leftist, but like leftists are fundamentally anti-establishment in a way that the far right also is.
Right.
And so a lot of these online communities, and I write a lot about language. I really do. You can see like, I write a lot about sort of like words and things. And this was something that I was writing about like in 2022 of just, or 2020 also. But there was a lot of that sort of language. I felt like that started to migrate into leftist spaces.
Right.
And I think Democrats capitalized on that.
Right.
But I don't think that they were the ones that mainstreamed it. They're sort of the language police, like the middle, a lot of those people are, for better or worse. I mean, I think it's horrible that this stuff is being normalized. And
it's disgusting.
Yeah.
It's really disgusting. And because, it starts with trying to be funny, like the dirtbag left kind of thing. And then it just becomes mean. And then it's like, pretty soon they're the ones who are like, yeah, COVID's just a cold and stop wearing your mask, you snowflake. And they sound just like, the Trumpers. It's crazy.
It's about radicalization. And I think like, we just have to note that the far left or whatever, I hate that term so much because like quote unquote far left is literally just like progressives. But I do think leftists generally have been radicalized to the right in a very meaningful way. Democrats have always been sort of quietly right wing.
Yeah.
But the left spaces have gone very right. I mean, just look at a lot of like literally like Red Scare and shit like that started as like socialist, quote unquote, like so much media, or someone like Crystal Ball, like, or Glenn Greenwald. It's like a lot of these like leftist media figures started left. They have just grifted further and further and further to the right.
Yeah. It's like, who do you throw under the bus as you keep moving on for your access and your money and all your stuff? And I mean, it was really interesting that when George Galloway won and he actually came on Useful Idiots and talked about like anti-woke, anti-COVID, anti-climate, and you're just like, well, then what are you? Just anti-war?
Yeah, how are you left anymore?
They're like tacitly anti-war, but they're not actually anti-war. It's like, it's very confusing. They're not real. I mean, they're just not really on the left.
Yeah, it's
they're
not
just
left. It's more just like populism.
We haven't even attacked Jimmy Dore yet. That's all I'm upset about right now. But I'll leave his name out of it, I guess.
But yeah, the maid thing is really sad because of course, I think we can all understand why it's important to be able to end your life on your own terms in certain situations. But the difference when you see what's happening in Canada and that it's basically being used I mean, just the way we had Rochelle Walensky here and Dr. Fauci saying, you know, well, some people are disabled and they're going to just fall by the wayside. And we had Zeke Emanuel several years ago saying after you turn 70 or 75, yeah, if you have to, you know, you don't really need healthcare, it's probably time to kick the bucket. Like that attitude of saving the state money and getting rid of the undesirables is really what's behind it. It's these people are never legislating for our own like dignity or quality of life.
They don't
right?
give a
So,
shit.
yeah.
They're not like, oh, it's time to preserve the dignity of cancer patients.
Yeah.
If you felt that way, you would be wearing a mask. You would be
Yeah.
doing things to keep them alive. You're not.
Medicare for all. Like you'd have universal health care. You would pay people a living wage. You do a million things before we're going to kill you faster.
Which it is also like they keep positioning it as sort of in opposition to disabled people. Disabled people are among the terminally ill people, like, or terminally ill people are among disabled people. Like,
Right.
it's like we should center the people that are actually affected by these policies. And instead, you have a lot of liberals and people like that sort of act like they're left, or they seem really radical. They'll say free Palestine all day. But then they're like, oh, but my grandma had to die or whatever. And it's like, that is horrible and tragic. And no one should have to experience that.
Right.
But the solution to that is not to make it easier for the state to murder more people. That is not going to fix what happened to your grandma. Unfortunately, it's horrible.
And the fact that you can't have a conversation without it getting to these disgusting heights where it's just becomes, it's in such bad faith always, right?
It's incredibly bad faith. And they make it very personal, as if the issue is not personal to disabled people.
Right.
But their personal feelings about their dead relative somehow supersede the feelings of the alive terminally ill people and the alive disabled people.
Who see where this is all headed and what they've had to deal with their entire lives, or their entire, like, the state does not have their best interests in mind.
No, the state won't even give them like the most basic care. So
they'll deny them everything they need. Right. Exactly. It's all gross. There's so few people out there who have the fortitude to keep on fighting. So thank you so much for your voice out there. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. This was really
and before you go, please tell people where they can get your book and
where they can find you on the internet and everything.
Well, you can subscribe to my Substack. It's usermag.co. It's like a 3 times a week online culture newsletter, usermag.co, not .com. And then I'm just at Taylor Lorenz on Instagram, YouTube. Subscribe to my YouTube, please. And my book is called Extremely Online, The Untold Story of Fame, Influence, and Power on the Internet.
Love it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming on a Sunday evening. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. This was so fun.
Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers. Talk soon. That was awesome. Boy, you know, it is so funny, Pat, as you were saying, like just doing a search for any of the main things that we wanted to discuss and not even having Taylor's name in it. She popped up in all of it because it's like, it's
wild.
crazy.
They really need people to be the villains. Like, oh, let's make a lefty villain and let's throw her in all the, like the Cuomo video. Honestly, like, how did she come up in that? Like,
it's so great. Why don't we now, you know, we didn't want to take up time when we actually had Taylor on to show some of the stuff, but do you want to show everybody what we're talking about here?
Or we could spin the wheel and drink something and then come back to that.
For sure. But I have been drinking. I could feel my face getting so red and I was embarrassed when Taylor was here. Okay, here we go.
No, we must drink and spin and watch Timeline Cleanses.
Yeah.
Then we'll
Let's
get
do
to
a couple. I mean, that was fun, but like a couple of moments. Okay.
Yeah, baby.
I just needed a reason to get another beer.
Always. Oh, look at that. All right, good. I'm going to fill her up and spin again. 1 second. Let's see.
Yeah, baby.
What? Okay, it's going to be a really big one, but now I'm mid-course, so just give me a second. 1 second. I like, okay. 1 second. 1 second. I'm getting there. Stop putting the pressure on.
Yeah, baby.
Come on. All right, Pat. It's 3. I'm gonna fill it up, but like just pick something. Let's do it.
I'm really glad I didn't I dropped doing shots every time. All right, let's just show. We need some puppets or something silly.
Yeah, something silly and sweet.
Подожди, стой.
Ждать. Подожди. Прям? Можно. Молодец! 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 Иди ко мне, иди. Ой, хороший мальчик.
Look at my happy guy. Oh, just a happy guy. Oh, just a look at that the happy dog. Oh, just a happy.
That
why
was
that video just
adorable.
kept going
Yeah, I
and
know. I
going.
don't know why that was on forever, but that was really cute. Loved it. We found so many great, because we're going to go back to the whole UHC thing, but the United Healthcare assassination, we found a lot
get
of
to that.
really funny videos, but we are a little terrified right now with our two like crazy hard strikes against us, not just asking us to remove the clips, but like you're about to get taken off of YouTube and your channel will get shut down. So we're being really careful of music and anything that, we're not trying to like
It's
steal
really weird
anything
because
from
their
anything.
policy is that if you get a copyright strike, you're supposed to get the possibility of removing it.
Yeah.
And we can't
Yeah.
remove these. We have 2 permanent strikes from literally an AI clip, a little goofy clip of Trump that we put out and shared.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, I mean, this really is, I don't want to say it's fascism against us in particular, but like, if you can find reasons that are silly to kick off accounts as small as ours, like
Yeah.
these 3 strikes are the same rules for big creators that have thousands and thousands of viewers that are,
Yeah.
so they can leverage any of these things against us is the
Yeah.
point. And
It's
so
pretty
we're trying to
crazy.
be careful
We're
ish.
trying to be, yeah. And like we've written to the content creators and tried to explain, and there's just no, there actually is not a way to appeal to YouTube on these ones. There have been on other ones where we'll show something and we're like, no, this is fair,
Fair use.
fair use. Oh my God, really, it's bad. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I better go to some clinic and figure it out with my brain. But yeah, fair use. And most of our fair use objections, like where we've written back to contest their ruling, they've then rescinded and allowed it to go. But this, there's just nothing. So all right. So let's just go back to the whole,
To the hero that we're all
this
supporting.
week. Yeah. So, it happened on Wednesday, right before we came on air. Since then, there were a few things that have been revealed. One is that on the bullets, on the casings, it said delay, deny, defend. 3 separate words on 3 separate casings. Which,
I actually thought it said depose in the last one. Am I wrong?
I think
That a-
I know. I think it was Depose. Oh, look at that. AP. Maybe they'll get removed. I think it was Depose also, but now I don't know. So forgive us.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure AP I got this one.
No, you're
wrong.
right.
I'm correcting them.
It was Depose. Maybe they should get their site taken down, AP, for spreading
AP,
fake news.
you got to do better.
I think they said that because it
Right, this book.
reminded them of this book by J.M. Feynman about the tactics that the health insurance companies use to take your money from your premiums and then deny you coverage when you actually need it, which is delay, deny, defend. But the depositions obviously are, of all the medical experts, and they'll just make you go through all of the legal battles, which most people don't have the time or the money or often the health to be able to take on some huge multi-billion-dollar company, to try to get your $5,000 or whatever.
Yeah, and having worked in law, like depositions there are no rules to depositions. So they can go after you and threaten to reveal that you cheated on your wife or something in a deposition. Like a deposition is so wide open. Right. And you are if you've committed crimes or things you're embarrassed about, they will get that out in deposition, even if it's about healthcare.
Right.
Like that's what they do.
Those are the tactics. It's like, it's the mafia. I mean, it's all shakedowns. That really is what it is. So, but not only that, it was then revealed that they're pretty sure that his weapon was very unique. And this is what they say, that there's possibility that the shooter used a veterinary pistol that's used on farms to euthanize animals quietly.
Love it.
Which also, yeah. It feels like, I mean, honestly, it feels like he's playing everybody on some level. Then like 3 days later, they say they found his backpack, which is crazy because it was like in the middle of Central Park where you would assume they'd been looking, and there was Monopoly money in it. Right.
Yeah.
So like, I mean,
look, I'm a straight white male, but look, that's amazing. The foresight, like, look, I think he's going to get caught. Unfortunately, that's just the nature of how much they want this guy to go down.
Yeah.
But he left, like, strategically, he left a backpack full of Monopoly money.
Yeah.
So you think you got something, you found him, and then you got clues there, and it's Monopoly money. So he meant to leave that for you.
Of course. And the writing on the casings and using a gun that kills pigs. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on. Yeah. So, but yes, the internet is falling for this guy. They're like, you're going to get Jake Gyllenhaal killed. But this user, oh no, LOL, this app is about to fall apart because people are just like loving this guy. There are all sorts of memes about him. Maybe he's born with it. Maybe it's Maybelline. Apparently the backpack that he used has already sold out on
I followed this, I looked it up.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so he chose this backpack
Yeah.
because he went to war. This backpack company went to war with Amazon. So this is like the people's backpack too.
Yeah. I mean, come on.
Like the whole thing. Also, I looked it up. You can buy it on Amazon, which
that's kind of funny. Yeah.
Maybe he didn't win this thing entirely, and it's like almost $300. It's like a crazy expensive backpack.
Wow.
But
yeah, that's
but he chose this probably because they went to war with Amazon. Like, he's an ally. He's a leftist who cares about what we care about. Somebody in his family is probably affected. Who knows? But
yeah, I mean, listen, all indications point to that. Obviously, we don't know who he is, but clearly the clues he's leaving are meant to make us all feel that way, right? So you have people saying, we're not from the left and we're not from the right. We're from the bottom and we're coming for those on top. And I think that idea is, even though this is just like a meme that somebody made, the truth is, like, people who would normally, as soon as they see somebody's picture online, like, get to work and try to figure out who the bad guy is who did something horrible. Now they're saying that they won't try to help find this killer. And
I love this because look, there was one guy who released some stuff, one of these obviously these murder mystery whatever people on that I don't know what you call it.
The TikTok sleuths.
Yeah, but the actual people that's their whole gig online is like hunting crime chasers trying to solve cases that government won't. One guy sort of dug in and started digging in and releasing stuff, and the internet attacked the shit out of him. So these people are not going to be allies because it's going to hurt their bottom line, and they're not going to do it. They're just not going to do it.
Yeah.
And I love
TikTok
that.
users totally who would normally leap at the chance to identify an alleged criminal are standing down during the manhunt for the killer of the United Healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson. Sparks, who also works in healthcare as a lactation consultant and holds a doctorate of pharmacy, didn't mince words when asked if her community was working to find the suspect in Thompson's murder. Absolutely the fuck not, she said. Not only that, doctor.
I just can't leave it a lactation consultant.
Yeah.
Okay,
so,
I'm just,
Oh, you mean that there is they come into you right when you have babies, and then sometimes you hire them to because it's not as easy as it looks. It's
fine. I just had jokes there.
There's lots of jokes. Actually, funny story. When I had Xander, so my second, and I didn't really need a lactation consultant with him, anyway, whatever. And there's no like different children latch on differently. Like there's a whole thing. But so the woman comes in and, I gained 65 pounds with each of my kids. So gained it with Asher, then lost it, then gained it right back with Xander. So I've just had a baby. I'm underslept. I have a toddler at home. I have a baby. Yes, I'm happy, but like I feel disgusting. And this cute young woman comes in. She's my lactation consultant. And she looks.
You're trying to get me canceled.
And she goes, your name's Lila? That's my dancer name. So she's a stripper and she's coming in and it's like, I could not feel more unappealing right now in this moment. But anyway, I think the point is like, though it's a healthcare worker who is showing solidarity with the people who are taking down the health insurance CEOs, right? So I think that was that detail. Yeah.
And there are tons of TikToks. I mean, look, I hate that I'm watching TikToks now, but like, that's where we're at. I'm looking for lactation consultants on TikTok.
Yeah.
Following them all. Yeah. But you got doctors, you got nurses, you got everybody in healthcare. Open face, here I am. I'm the guy in healthcare on TikTok, backing this guy up. Like, if you work at Blue Cross, there are probably 20 openly Blue Cross people on TikTok with videos out saying they're cheering this guy on because they know how unfair all this shit is. And they know how unjust it is. And the guilt has been on their conscience for 10 years, so they're ready. They're ready for something more.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and they know, and, for people who get into healthcare because they actually care about making people better and doing no harm, they hate this system. They hate being
and
weighed
they
down
see
with
who's
paperwork.
preventing that. It's not the science preventing it. It's the insurance people. It's
which is totally
can you imagine having the capability of saving this person's life or making their life better and not being able to because of financial bullshit, and you swore an oath to save people.
So there's, I guess, a Reddit that's heavily used by doctors, and it was taken down because they all just railed against the CEO of United Healthcare and all the other CEOs who are preventing them from doing their job. And it was so bad that it was taken down by Reddit. But is there any other thing that we wanted to show on that? No, but yeah, I mean, I think it is very clear that these people are the villains. Like, this is the story. Everybody knows who they are. There is no need for these people to exist except to bilk us all out of hundreds of millions of dollars and deny us coverage and let us die. So that's their whole reason.
As long as you have the healthcare system where people invest in their money in and expect a return to grow, you are going to get CEOs who get rewarded for finding ways to not keep people alive and not pay for service. And that's, of all of them, the whole system is fucked, but targeting this company and specifically him, even if it might have just been a coincidence because
they denied the most claims of all of the top companies.
That's what I was gonna say. This is the most egregious denial company. Like they used AI. Yeah. They have an AI that had what's the percentage of false? 90% of their denials are false. Yeah. And this guy was crucial in implementing that system.
Right. So there's an almost 3-minute video that we will not make everybody suffer through, but it was leaked to Ken Klippenstein, and it was another CEO from United Healthcare, extending his sympathies to Brian Thompson's family and also to all of his staff members who are feeling the heat of, the vitriol on the internet. But some of the things he said, sorry, here come the readers, were, we guard against the pressures that exist for unsafe care or for unnecessary care. Thanks so much, Guardian. There are very few people in the history of the U.S. healthcare industry who had a bigger positive effect on American healthcare than Brian Thompson. The health system needs a company like United Health Group, and it needs people like Brian within it. And, as we look at what happened since Obamacare, the ACA, this Damian Carabello, MD, did a really good thread on Andy Slavitt. And when he became head of the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, they basically contracted with United Healthcare and like groups that were sort of subsidiaries of it. So he says 80% of U.S. bankruptcies are due to medical bills and had health insurance when they got sick. Those people. Health insurer premiums in the past 25 years are up 213%. And when you look, we see, I mean, it was always bad, right? Like anytime that you have to pay like it's not that you have to go through a third party to pay them premiums and then appeal to them to get healthcare from your doctor. But in 2010, when the ACA happened, it really starts to skyrocket. And what also skyrockets are the stock prices for all of these different health insurance companies. So where it spikes when ACA becomes law and then it's implemented in 2014, and then it just is like it's almost a vertical line for the health insurers. So it again, like the ACA, Obamacare was a Heritage Foundation plan. It's a massive giveaway to insurance companies.
Absolutely. And I mean, seeing that the numbers, the 80%, just look, 80% of bankruptcies are for medical reasons, right? So let's connect the dots to 80% for medical reasons. Homelessness is largely because people can't afford to live in the cost of rent. So like when you see the left and the anti-Kasparians and people going after homeless folks and blaming this whole anti-woke thing that's a thing on the left, it's disingenuous. It's not like people on the left just decided, I mean, not people on the left. It's not like the people that are homeless or just the world decided, let's just all do more drugs and be on the street. Right.
Right.
You know, it's
like there's
not
no
that.
root problems. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not that. It's that, a lot of these people have medical issues and they're broke and they can't afford housing. And you connect all these dots and you just can't, this whole, like the left needs to be less woke thing. Any progressive podcaster pushing that should need, they're not left. They fuck off. You're leading people the wrong way.
100%. And it's really hard to know if that was the plan all along or if it just happens the more money they make from whoever their sponsors are. But either way, it's disgusting and they are not allies. And they're just, I mean, they're ruining it because they're making it's like saying that Biden is the next JFK or FDR. Look at me. It's bad. Right? Like
Biden is permission. He's the next RFK Jr.
He's the next George W. Bush. Yeah. But also what's interesting is they took down CEO pages with their pictures, like all of the different health insurance companies.
The trees are gone.
Yeah. And there's been appeals on a lot of their Wikipedia pages to take down their Wikipedia. Like they're scared. Good. Be scared. Do something because obviously like the protests aren't working. They're just like lovely little parades for these people. They're building cop cities. They're smashing people's heads in. They are ramping up all legislation against saying certain things and calling people terrorists. They're, the mass surveillance, like all of these things are happening. So protests do nothing. People have been protesting for over a year against a genocide, and Israel's killed. I mean, you can't even see what's happening anymore every day at the same level because they've killed all the journalists. They've wiped out. There's no electricity. There's no power. There's no safety. There's no ability to report. And they're just still doing it. It doesn't, so they have to be scared of us. Just the only way.
The thing about violence is it can't be misdirected violence, right? So like, it has to be, I'm not condoning violence, wink, wink, whatever. But the people, you need to swing at the right people. Like somebody has to be a villain. And this person, the public supports this because they know what a villain he is and was.
Yeah.
And a movement, this act had more impact than the last 50 fucking rallies for Medicare for all, or we don't even have those anymore.
Right.
But
I mean,
it's
the fact
inevitable.
that Blue Cross Blue Shield reversed that decision about anesthesia in less than a day. Right.
Yeah. And for anyone that doesn't know, Blue Cross wasn't going to fund anesthesia. They were going to pay the bill for anesthesia after a certain period of time in the surgery. So no matter what the doctors said, they were like, after 45, I don't know what the time frame was, but whatever random time frame.
It's like random stuff on different surgeries. Yeah.
Yeah. We're not going to pay for anesthesia. And, that the backlash to that was immediate. And then this happened. And then it was over. They quickly were like, we all don't want to die. Yeah. Our leadership doesn't want to die. That directive came from CEOs.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're stockholders, right? How do we make more money? Well, do people really need anesthesia for their whole procedure?
Yeah, but the directive to switch course on that policy is a direct result of this.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, it's interesting too, because the following day after the murder on Thursday, there were like Slack channel reveals of like, we're in our claims department. We're approving every single claim. We're just approving everything. And like, that seemed to be something like, so people were feeling very excited about that. And then of course it felt like it was going back, but I do, and listen, this is really unfortunate. I don't want everything to have to come to violence. I much prefer that we all get along, but the violence is not coming from us. The majority of the violence is coming from the CEO class, the capitalist class, the owners, the billionaires. Like, that's where it's coming from. They know they're killing almost 100,000 of us every year by denying us care. They know that, as you said, that leads to homelessness and drug abuse and suicide. I mean, like, all of these things are intertwined, and they're fine with it because they make more money. So it's violence.
And the system is set up for that, which is why, while not condoning violence, how do you get anyone's attention when the Democratic Party knows how the public stands and they're not going to fight for these things? Yep. So the only power we're supposed to have is our vote of these two people that aren't going to fight for these things.
Right. Yeah.
So what do we do? And this worked. Let's just be honest. This worked.
This is the last thing, and then we can spin and move on if you want. But on Spotify, they even have a playlist for him. It's Welcome to New York, Taylor's version. It's here come my Angel with the Shotgun. Do you hear the people sing? Trouble's coming, and My Shot, which, that was another thing, is like right before the 2016 election, and all the liberals were loving Hamilton. And I mean, I really liked it too at the time and all that. But like when it came right down to it, they hated Bernie, they loved Hillary, and but so like that revolutionary spirit, whatever you think about the musical, that was what was captivating for a lot of these people as they're singing, or from Les Mis. And when it comes down to it, a lot of them don't actually embrace the revolutionary spirit.
No, and then being able to say you liked Hamilton was like, oh, I'm a leftist.
Yeah,
look at me. I
voted
for Kamala. Black people, don't worry about me.
Yeah.
I'm a white ally.
Yeah,
got my bracelet, my blue bracelet on.
Lord. Okay, moving on. Should we?
Yeah, sure.
Let's spin and have a moment of fun before we delve back into all the crazy.
Yeah, baby.
Oh, look at that! Another timeline thing.
Well, we can stay related. Here's some music for our man here.
Depose, defend a businessman met an early end, left his lonely widow crying in the fence. Certainly tens of people cry along with them, in trailers and in shelters and in pens. I rake the leaves all in my picture on the evening news at 8 saying violence ain't the answer. When will people learn? But in a million different churches, a million candles burn for a million different people who waited for their turn. In Baltimore and LA and in New York and in Houston and in Gaza and in Haiti and all across the planet, when your only claim to freedom is easily denied, you work yourself to death just to keep yourself alive. Haven't picked a gun up since 1965. Changes that they promised us, the rich men all attest to them. I hope we get the rest of them. Hope we get the rest of them.
It was Cokeland.
Oh,
You wrote
Cokeland.
Coke. I think with a K. Shauna Dean.
It is a
Cokeland.
K.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that was great. I'm loving all of these also. Really, really great. Yeah, I mean, it's really speaking to people because, as we know, we do not have a democracy, and as you know, many of you have been writing in the comments. Sorry, I saw it up here, but it's yeah, Lori, that we
Well-
tried twice to do this in the system, and they told us to fuck off, right? Like
We've
there's
tried so hard for so long,
Yeah.
and nothing is working. Look, the protests don't work. I mean,
Yeah.
we need to keep protesting, but don't think something's going to come from a protest. Like protest is going to rile up people. And what I love about this guy, what are they calling him? I forget the name. There's a new nickname they're calling.
oh
him.
really?
Somebody put it in the chat. I don't know. Somebody messaged me earlier saying, "Is that the
Okay.
nickname?" And I don't know. But
Oh, the claims adjuster. Is that what you mean?
the adjuster,
Yeah.
I think, right?
Yeah.
But he plotted this out so like you couldn't. Not only can you not try to spin this as something else, because he put the deny, defend, depose stuff out there,
Right.
but he then knew that this backpack would be found later with the monopoly money. Like he's
Yeah.
not letting you script this some other way. This is somebody mad about our healthcare insurance
Yep.
failure.
Yep.
And I love him for it. And I love that it's the whole deny, defend, depose thing.
Yep.
He put a little marketing out into the world that we can latch onto, and we should all latch onto it.
Yeah. Yeah. And they need to be scared because the protests end up just being like parades for them. I mean, they just do not care at all. Okay. Moving on. We've got I mean, what a mess with every other part of what's happening in our world. We didn't really talk about the COVID stuff, but the cancer thing, you know, the two major studies were up to 70% of COVID infected have reduced organ function for 4 months or more after infection, which leads to an increased risk of developing chronic disease in lungs, kidneys, and cardiovascular system. So again, trying to prevent COVID, that's not just a cold, is important. And
So,
then
I mean, your kids that are in school, 70% of them have 4 months of fucked up organs.
Yeah.
Like, is this okay? This should not
And
be
it doesn't
okay.
go away. Like you don't then shed it. It's like we don't know what the long-term repercussions of that, although we are seeing a spike in young people having strokes and heart attacks, and now cancer. And this is crazy. Colon cancer, the rates compared to 1995 are double. And people are treating 9, 10, and 11-year-old children with colon cancer, which used to be you didn't really have to think about that until you were 50s. Yeah.
It was a 50s thing.
Yeah.
And it's prevalent. I mean, it's like you want to test for it because the earlier you catch it, it really has
It's
a
actually
huge outcome.
treatable.
You can really change it. But you're not going to test 9 and 10, 11-year-olds for colon cancer. So this is a death wish for teenagers, basically, like, because they're going to get it. They're going to get colon cancer. They're never going to be tested for it. They're going to be tested for it too late. It's going to be symptoms, extreme symptoms, and they're going to die. That's what we're doing right now.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, listen, they're going to get us one way or the other. Cause if it's not just COVID, it's the plastics in our food. It's the horrible poisons in our food, in our air, in our water, in our soil. Like, it's, I guess it's all coming home to roost, but we're paying for it is the thing.
No, but I mean, somebody, I forget who had the plastics thing that you just had up, and that's Stephanie, that's definitely a part of like the prevalence of plastics in our life and related to around food and the microplastics, and that all our clothes have these toxic microplastics. That's not even a word, microplastic. I just made that up. Maybe it is a word, but I think whatever it is that's plastic that's in our clothes have plastic in it. Like we can't get away from these plastics. And it's not that plastic is bad, but our use of it, like when they talk about climate change, we're on pace to like quadruple our plastic usage in the next 10 years or something like that. And you can't fight climate change if you're doing that, for one. And it's not recyclable. We know like all the dangers of plastic to people. So everything is spiraling in a bad direction. Like,
there needs to be a major like
initiative to get away from plastic usage and
just a systemic change. I mean, it's not just like, oh, recycle, don't use straws. It's like there has to be a smashing of the whole concept of what our system is, right? Like there has to be less consumption. There has to be, there has to be some sort of socialism. That is the only way to fight this, truly. And it's interesting to see that even like climate scientists actually are sounding the alarm, and they have been for a long time, but they're also offering what the prescription is in an analytical way. And it's, consuming less. It's changing our carbon footprint, not with a straw, but getting rid of the billionaire class who uses, their yachts and then their shadow yacht or their jet planes, private jets that are, like all these things that they do, the consumption, the way they ravage the environment, the way they enslave children and people all over the global south. I mean, all of it is interrelated, and it's climate scientists who I think are sort of at the forefront of putting the economic system at that's what is going to have to change.
That's what's going to have to change. And recycling is look, keep recycling, recycle, please recycle my disciples. No, recycling it largely doesn't work. It's just a big old scam on a lot of levels. I mean, keep doing it, but it's minuscule. But getting people off these products is the important part. Getting us unaddicted to plastic
and just consumption in general. Like less is more. In this is one case where I'll say less is more.
Okay. I lost the point. I had something in there.
I'm sorry.
It was a zinger. No, I lost it
contagious.
myself.
It
was my beer, which somebody asked earlier. New Glory, local beer, Ubadank, delicious.
All right. That's awesome. I'm glad to know. And also because we did not do a shout out, I just want to make sure that we get to say cheers to our pup members, our heroes and sheroes. Thank you again to our wonderful Reflect the Sun, who I think gave 40 memberships. And then also shout out to the runs. I think I saw somewhere way up in the chat that it's your birthday today. So cheers. And I don't know if you're still here, but thanks for spending some of your birthday with us. That's so nice. Cheers and happy birthday. Okay.
Which that song I happen to know is patented. I mean, copyrighted. You can't, we can't play a happy birthday song.
Can't even sing it. They'll shut us down. All right. Do you want to go with Morning Joe's? Oh, okay. That's where we're going to go first.
What?
Got it.
What? How did that get there? I even got rid of us.
Yeah. Look at you. All right. Here we go.
Yeah, baby.
Oh, do we have another puppet?
We do. And this one is why this is just a fluke, but this is why I know that Happy Birthdays, we were looking up copyright laws because I had to change the song behind this because Jingle Bells, although not copyrighted, the original artist, I mean, the artist that was on the song was copyrighted. But
Got it. Pat and I are clicking on each other.
Cross pushing.
We are. Hey, I just wanted to show that. So at one point when I was going down all the different wormholes with this assassin, and then I know we're going to move off of it, there was a demonstration of new mask technology that's very simple but really effective that I just wanted to show really quickly.
Dando la vuelta me pongo un pase, hago lo que sea, porque hago lo que sea. Tú no tienes mi competencia. Ay, ay, linda, tú eres la buena, tú eres mi perdición. Ay, ay, linda.
Okay, don't mask yourself as a black person, Mr. White.
That, yeah.
Please don't blame a black person. Just to...
Yeah, that was not the point of this. Was that it's supposed to be, and also I couldn't like at one point I was like, oh, Kanye West, that's a weird mask, but that is kind of crazy because a lot of people are pointing out that all the different pictures of the claims adjuster guy look very different from each other.
Gotcha. So I think I watched that same guy, but a longer video.
Okay.
There wasn't a TikTok or whatever that was, and because he went through like 10 different faces, and these masks are crazy. Like they're crazy good. Like
and they're just like it looks like nylon. Like it looks like nylons that people are putting on, right?
Yeah,
and, it's pretty crazy.
You know, if you're gonna do something wild, order them up.
Protect yourself.
VPN account to a PO box that you didn't use. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't want to give out. I don't know what you do if you're gonna break the law, but
the unlocator that I used to use to be able to watch Dodger games in Los Angeles because they stopped letting us have feed through DirecTV. Okay, we've got some Morning Joe flip out. I mean, they're just so deeply unserious. I don't know how much we care. And we've got some Israel stuff. Which way, because it's already 6:38, should we go?
Let's cover the Morning Joe stuff because the media, look, I mean, I think most people here are following the Israel stuff pretty closely.
Yeah.
But you're not watching MSNBC or CNN because you don't hate your life like we do. So we're watching this all the time.
Well, they're really losing it because they were like the Biden whisperers. I mean, it's so funny that, you know, liberals made fun of Trump for whatever, his Fox people who would like talk in his ear and he would like listen to them and repeat what they said. And if they had any ideas, they'd make sure they did it on their morning shows. And then it came out that Biden had that relationship with Morning Joe and Mika, right? Well, now that now they're going to go back to being friends with Trump because access journalism and everybody, like the lesson that CNN and MSNBC are learning from all of this is we got to go further right. Like that's the lesson.
Yeah.
Clearly it's a right-wing country.
Did you see the story allegedly that Rachel Maddow almost got in a fight with Mika in the hallway? You know, like they're anyway.
So embarrassing. All right. So first, Joe, because they've gotten pushback. People are upset. Like you can't spend 4 years, 8 years, whatever, saying that Trump is a fascist. He is the end of our democracy. We're never going to have elections again. He is an existential threat to everything about the US. And then he gets elected and you're like, we're going to jet on down to Mar-a-Lago. And he's not so bad, actually. Like you can't do that. You're either showing that you're also a fascist or that you're a liar or both.
And the progressive version, progressive and have 3 air quotes. I'm going to make this a new thing. Triple quotes means we don't believe anything you said.
Yeah.
Hashtag triple quotes, or I don't know.
I like it.
But TYT, Jank, you know, they're like leaning on Trump's not so bad. Like, you know, like we can have the discussion. Like,
yeah, we should have that discussion.
Itching to.
Well, yeah. So do we still have that? Because we were going to talk about it. I don't think it's up there now. Yeah. So, you know, I actually saw.
No, he's pivoting to what we've been saying for a while on these things. Like,
right.
But he's also doing
like
it.
Circuit breaker, right?
It's a self-interest thing. Like he loses the plot after every election and tries to rebrand because they fucking lost progressives. And he's latching on to the left-right alliance people. He's latching onto the wrong people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Like
he's latching onto the I'm sorry, I keep cutting.
No, go ahead. No, it's okay. It's okay.
He's latching on to the war rally people kind of vibe. Like, you know, like the woke is bad kind of vibe, you know, they've
been doing for a while.
Establishment. Trump's anti-establishment. No, but he's putting that on Trump. Like Trump is actually anti-establishment when the people voting for him are anti-establishment. That's the link he's missing.
Right. So, okay. So I watched this on whatever the Breaking Points, and what he kept saying, and she wasn't really having any of it. And I don't know if it was that he wasn't articulating it well, or if that she was sort of feeling what you're feeling, that he's just trying to like get in with Elon Musk. Cause I guess he was having like a conversation back and forth with Elon Musk about how we should change whatever thing he thinks that Elon's going to do through the Doge Bureau.
Yeah. Government efficiency.
Yeah. And you know, so Bernie will do stuff like that because he's in a legislative body. And if he can get somebody to come on with him to say, hey, we've got to defund the Pentagon, or, you know, that's his job as a politician, not changing his beliefs, his ideology, his policies. But listen, if he can reach across the aisle to get somebody who's sort of anti-war, like a Thomas Massey, to sign on to something that might prevent us from selling more arms or to, you know, arming a genocide, he will use that. The difference, and I think like what you're saying, is with Cenk, it feels a little more like access journalism and like these are the people in power and maybe we can buddy up. What Cenk was saying was, because Trump likes to be liked, if he feels like his base that is more possibly anti-war, populist, wants healthcare, wants a living wage. Like we know all of Bernie's policies are wildly popular across the whole spectrum. If those people were convinced by a liar like Trump to vote for him and then don't get what they want, if the war escalates, if they don't get healthcare, if because of tariffs every price goes up, they will revolt, and that we should be ready to use that against Trump because he is more frail in his ego and he might actually cave to pressure in a way that Biden didn't. That was his point. I don't know if it's true, but Trump is so chaotic that who knows what might happen.
I get it. But the bigger point is that Cenk is just leveraging this for views. I
mean,
he's capturing an audience,
buster, right?
You know,
he wouldn't let his people unionize. Like
but look, Trump's people aren't going to revolt if they don't get what they want. Like, let's be honest, they're not going to. Now we can change that dynamic somehow on our end, but it's not going to happen. I mean, I get, you know, Cenk saying it's an opportunity for us. And yes, it's an opportunity for us to appeal to these people for what where Trump failed him with his lies, but they don't care one iota about him failing them on Ukraine or Palestine. They're already in. That part of it's not.
Yeah.
Now their pocketbooks,
Yeah.
that's a different story. Maybe
But the crazy-
economically,
yeah.
you know, if tariffs screw our country up and make things incredibly expensive, you know, that's an opportunity. But if that opportunity is just vote for Democrats, which is going to be Cenk's solution to this,
Yeah.
you know, no matter how much he's going to fight against the establishment, he's going to tell you to vote for Gavin Newsom in 2028. 2028.
Yeah.
It's you got to vote for Gavin, and we'll
Gotta
reform
vote
the
for Gavin, or
Democrats.
Dean Phillips, the one good Democrat. Yeah, no, it's all gross. So, okay. So Morning Joe freaking out on his own audience, which is already diminished to such a level that he should probably try a different tactic, but not him.
Two things. You can do two things at the same time. You can say he had fascist rhetoric and still go in and talk to him.
Yeah.
You know why I do that? To get the read of the man. You know why I went in and talked to Macron? To get the read of the man at a crucial time in EU funding and NATO funding. You know why I went to leaders in the Middle East who were angry at the United States, and I sat there and I listened to them attacking me personally for 45 minutes because of U.S. policy? You know why I do that? To get the read of the leader, to get the read of where the country's going. So I can come back here and talk to you and let you know what the hell is going on.
With context and
give you context, insight, and background. You know everybody we have on the show that's a reporter? It's what they do every day. They speak on background.
I mean, does he think he's a reporter?
Do you know why I was out partying with the worst person, the Nazis on the right?
Do it for you.
I'm just, and you know, he's going to be on my show, and I hope it gets a lot of views.
Yeah, he'll be calling in. It's going to be fun. So then they also had David Frum, who's disgusting right-wing, you know, one of the architects of the Iraq War lie.
Wrote a whole article about my deep fake.
That was David Frum?
David Frum of The Atlantic wrote an article about me launching the first deep fake.
Look at that.
First presidential deep fake.
Claim to fame. Let's see if we can get him on. Friend of show, David Frum.
I should see.
So he goes on and talks about Pete Hegseth being a drunk, and everybody at Fox knows that he's a drunk. And then they kind of chastise him for it. He leaves. Meanwhile, he's like getting stuff in his ear where they're telling him maybe don't do that so much. And then Mika comes on after and issues an apology. So here's this. We don't need to watch all of David Frum, but just so you get a taste.
It's a minute.
What's your sense of where the Hegseth pick is headed here?
Well, just given what one sees on camera, if you're too drunk for Fox News, you're very, very drunk indeed. So that's alarming. In 1989, President George H.W. Bush nominated John Tower, senator from Texas, for Secretary of Defense. Now, Tower was a very considerable person, a real defense intellectual, someone who deeply understood defense, unlike the current nominee. And it emerged that Tower had a drinking problem. And when he was drinking too much, he would make himself a nuisance or worse to the women around him. And for that reason, his nomination collapsed in 1989. You don't want to think that our moral standards have declined so much that you could say, let's take all the drinking, all the sex pesting, subtract any knowledge of defense, subtract any leadership, and there's your next Secretary of Defense for the 21st century.
You know, Ed Luce, the colleagues, his colleagues at Fox News have been concerned.
So they're getting something's happening in the ear, okay? And a little bit Morning Joe is trying to exculpate the Fox colleagues. Then David Frum leaves and Mika comes on. I have to think this is semi unheard of, but this is her apology.
Before we go to break, a little bit earlier in this block, there was a comment made about Fox News in our coverage about Pete Hegseth and the growing number of allegations about his behavior over the years and possible addiction to alcohol or issues with alcohol. The comment was a little too flippant for this moment that we're in. We just want to make that comment as well. We want to make that clear. we have differences in coverage with Fox News, and that's a good debate that we should have often. But right now, I just want to say there's a lot of good people that work at Fox News who care about Pete Hegseth, and we'll want to leave it at that. Still ahead on Morning.
So they're like, well, you can't call them, you know,
What, like,
he
what, they're
attacked
angling for
Fox
a
News
job.
as being
Yeah.
drunks. Like the whole MSNBC network was set up for that purpose.
Yeah. It's like the anti-Fox network or shows. I think their ratings have plummeted so much.
Yeah.
They're probably aiming for a job over at Fox, and they can't be caught, saying shitty
Right,
things
because
about them.
that apology is not for their audience. That apology
Right.
is to Trump.
Yeah.
Like, Trump, we don't want to lose our access.
Yeah.
So
and
here it is.
Fox
We're going on
CEOs,
air.
right? Yeah. Because who knows? Like, there's a lot of good reporters over there.
More importantly,
Yeah.
my ego. I just looked this up.
You found that
I
very
looked it
fast.
up real time because we have high tech here.
Where's the blurb about you? I want to see what you
Oh,
say.
I can pull it up, but it's too much.
It's over in there. Yeah, anyway, so that is the state of affairs with the channel that was, remember, like Lean In, the progressive channel. And yes, that is also part of Rachel Maddow, screaming at Mika down the hall. Like, it's all in disarray, because if your guiding philosophy isn't to reveal the secrets of the people in power and hold them to account, and it's really just about continuing to collect massive paychecks while cavorting with people at Mar-a-Lago or the Hamptons or whatever, you just sway in the wind. And they are completely untethered right now because they're losing their audience. And, it's like that, I don't know if it was Drill or Randy with 2 A's who said after 2016, Democrats are going to take a look in the mirror and say, we have to get a little more racist. And that's just their whole playbook. True. Yeah. Did you see this? So Dr. Jill was trending, and it was because, I wish we had pulled it. I forgot to do this, but Notre Dame just reopened after after it burned
France.
down.
Art history major here. I know it's France.
Good job. Several years ago. And you remember, like, people were just coming together and donating millions of dollars to rebuild it. And so they just had this opening ceremony, and there is Dr. Jill with daughter Ashley on her right, and Trump on her left, looking at him. And, one of these silly K-Hive accounts is saying, First Lady Dr. Jill Biden forced to sit next to a convicted felon found liable of rape at the Notre Dame Cathedral reopening ceremony in France. She's married to a genocidal maniac who's also been accused of rape and several acts of sexual misconduct. But while all that's going on, the Pope, who, and I'm not a real fan of organized religion, but he had a ceremony, with baby Jesus in a keffiyeh in the stable. That's actually a big statement without all the pomp and circumstance, where he's just sitting there by himself and puts out a picture like that. Obviously people could be doing a lot more than just putting out pictures, but like the juxtaposition of all the pomp and circumstance and the millions floated to Notre Dame to rebuild it, while every church and mosque in Gaza has been demolished, plus in Lebanon, right? Centuries old, millennia old buildings were destroyed.
So my memory is dog shit in art history. I just memorized things to pass the test from the day before because I was a terrible student in college. But there are so many amazing the architecture throughout the world, like, just because look, the dawn of civilization was over there, right? So there's a lot of amazing stuff, and to see the contrast of Western civilization propping up this Notre Dame, which I'm not denying they should have rebuilt this. It's beautiful. It is amazing now, seeing it like as it was intended, without all the smoke on it from our pollution in the environment. And it's beautiful, right? But I hate churches. That's a separate whole thing.
Yeah.
But the contrast of that to what's being destroyed now, and then this is our emphasis is Notre Dame, Notre Dame, Notre Dame, with all the death and destruction is just disgusting. And and that picture is going to be the next George W. Bush, Michelle Obama picture.
Oh my God, 100%.
It's part 2 of the same picture.
Pass him a throat lozenge and then go see a game with what's her name, Ellen DeGeneres.
This is all
because we have
and
to.
Trump's
Whatever
already
happens, yeah.
Well, he's not going after these people. I mean, some of the Justice Department might do their thing or whatever, but like he knows it doesn't matter. He doesn't give a shit. He won. Like the retribution for the past thing, that part of it, fascist Trump is not really a thing.
Right.
Sorry.
Well, he was even on the Sunday morning.
If it can secure him future power, he might pursue something.
Right.
But like, there's no benefit to the past stuff. There isn't, period, for him.
Because it is all a kayfabe anyway. Like he doesn't care. He's already in power.
Yeah.
And it makes him look better to be magnanimous and to say the way he did to Kristen Welker today.
I watched that whole interview.
Retribution is, the best retribution will be getting this country back on course and being successful. Right. So like, which, great. I mean, I like that as an answer. Who knows what he'll do? I know he's putting, forth awful people in his whole cabinet. They're all Zionists. I mean, it's disgusting. And I know we don't really have time to do it justice, but what is happening right now in the Middle East, where we are hearing almost nothing about Gaza anymore, in spite of the fact that Amnesty International also, 14 months later, but just came out saying that, yes, with a 296-page document, this is a genocide.
It's almost like they did to put it on Trump next. Like,
yeah.
You couldn't do that a year ago, right?
Like there were scholars like a week after October 7th saying, this is going to be a genocide. Watch out. This is what's happening. They're announcing their plans. They were saying that October 10th, really, right? And so, to wait to this point, the devastation, honestly, just seeing all of the death and nobody is doing anything. Like nobody is doing anything. So that's where you want the claims adjusters. And, the truth is what's just happened with Syria and the ceasefire that's been broken several times by Israel, but with Lebanon, are really taking away Iran's ability to support and arm the axis of resistance. Hezbollah having a ceasefire is already going against what they said they were doing in the first place, which was tying any ceasefire to Palestinians and a ceasefire there. And then now with putting in this person who is an Al-Qaeda operative. He is one of the, what US said was one of our biggest terrorists. Al-Jawlani was considered to be one of the biggest terrorists in the world. Al-Jawlani, this was from 2017. Al-Qaeda in Syria, we might remain committed to bringing this leading figure to justice. And now they put him in a suit and he's giving interviews and he's actually, it's like, remember when they did this with Richard Spencer, the neo-Nazi, and like they put him in nice suits and put him on the cover of New York Times. And so now
not that it's the same, but Zelensky was known as one of the most corrupt people on earth. Ukraine, their own country wanted to throw him out. He's going to eventually get charged for crimes, but like, that's what we do. We rebuild these terrible people and pretend they're good people because they're 5% more in alignment with U.S. policy, which, whatever. But to me, the thing about Syria is that Trump's agenda is not anti-war. Trump brought in all these war hawks who are anti-Iran. They are Iran hawks. They want to go after war with Iran.
Yep.
So any ceasefire fires that he gets elsewhere are just going to find ways to direct this war and money towards a war with Iran.
Right.
And all of this benefits that.
Yeah. And, you know, there was that clip with Wesley Clark making the rounds from.
Yeah, he's out there.
Oh, yeah. But the clip that they're showing was from a few years ago, but he was saying like right after 9/11 that the officials, whatever, of George W. came into him and were like, these are the 5 countries we're going after. And we've gone after all of them and toppled them, except for Iran's the last one there. But like, in this clip, you know, he's like, I didn't even know why. Like, they had nothing to do with 9/11. But here we are once again supporting an Al-Qaeda operative, ISIS operatives, saying that this is a great, you know, day for Syria. And
democracy.
Listen, people should fight for their own democracy. I know there are reports of people on the street who people are being released from jails. Like, you know, I'm not saying that Bashar al-Assad was
shit
right.
leader. Like,
but
it can be nuanced.
The U.S. needs to stay out of it, right? Like, because this is our guy now. This is our guy in Syria, which is going to be a disaster, just like our guy
guaranteed in advance.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a reason they're going to leverage this as a reason to expand the war. Yeah. You know, that's the whole game.
And to cut off any funding for people who are the resistance against Israel and U.S. empire. So in that realm, it's pretty devastating. And to see all these things happening this week, I don't know. It's making like, and in addition, like knowing that there are all these crackdowns here in our country on protesters and what's terrorism and how you can defund people and the anti-Semitism laws, like all of these things are coming together in a way that makes.
Which is the only thing with Taylor was great. I love her. She's amazing. And I don't think we really disagree on it, but like she sees the lockdown coming from the government as probably being, you know, bad things are coming from it. And I agree with that part of it. But I think the next few years are going to be so crazy because we are not going to be in agreement with our government. And the number of people that are not going to be in our agreement with our government is going to be, it's going to create a crazy state. Like we are going to be on the verge of revolution all the fucking time. How do we do it is the question. Like what do we do? But things are going to blow up. Like this CEO is going to be one of many. Promise you that.
We should
not for me. Not, I didn't.
I know, get your mask out.
FBI,
no,
not, like, I'm not.
No. I mean, you know, that's what I was sort of thinking too. And I think a lot of people are feeling that. And I mean, I still sort of am, but I also feel like it's also a distraction from the global takeover by U.S. Israel empire. And that is terrifying. And I feel like we've had so little impact on any of it. So,
but I think,
yeah.
Well, I think that the hit on the CEO is sort of okay. Yeah, it's an admission kind of like the people, all the protesters,
right?
Seeing, not advocating violence, but you're seeing inevitably when they don't listen to you, what comes next. And they're going to really shut our voices down even harder for the next 4 years. So I don't see how this doesn't become a clash, violent clash between the rich and the poor.
I mean, I really think you might be right. I just think that
well, they're ready for it. They're gonna
they're gonna keep hiding,
and they're gonna censor us to death, and all that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But most importantly, Devin, let's refer to Devin.
On that note, all right. So what do you think? I think
we can't dive in too much deeper with us already being over our 2 hour quota.
I think we're gonna I think we just one little quick funny thing before we go out. which is, well, two things. One is, I don't know if you all saw, and it's a 2-minute video, but it was solidarity with the CEO. There was CEO killer lookalike contest in New York yesterday. Did you see that?
Yes.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. And then TikTok is kind of going crazy with all of these different videos, which is pretty funny. This is just a really quick one, and then we'll come back and then we'll go out. But this is just a really quick one. We're going to get us on this music from Chicago.
Maybe we talk over it.
Is that the one that we said we weren't going to show? No, I thought it was the AI one.
No, that one's fine. But like you said, that's a probably
Chicago. Yeah, they're definitely we're gonna have to slice that out.
Yeah.
There's so many things that we didn't get to today. It was wonderful having Taylor Lorenz on. Really appreciate her voice out there. So thanks to her. We did just want to mention that this past week was the anniversary of Fred Hampton's assassination by the FBI, and also Rafat Al-Arir's slaughter by Israel. And I know that Ryan Grimm and Jeremy Scahill over at Dropsite are trying to make the release of his book go, bestseller. And so if anybody feels like heading over there, they'll tell you which place to order it from to make the most impact.
Do it.
And
Lala pulled some really good clips from Fred Hampton. We'll try to show them next week. They were set up for our here. The wheel decided we're not going to show them today, so we will get to them.
It was a puppet. It was a puppet.
Cute.
Yeah, we'll have a revolutionary show maybe on a Wednesday. And we're going out on somebody we're trying to get on the show, Mr. Jonathan Mann. He's been writing a song a day, I think, since 2016. And he's pretty fantastic. And we'll let him play us out. Thank you all. Cheers to all of you. We love you guys.
Cheers.
We'll see you on Wednesday. Keep punching up.
Amen.
Well, you can draw straight lines, straight as they come, from the misery of millions to Brian Thompson. Under his leadership, profits rose, and all that it cost was 1 million gravestones. Now, a very wise man, much smarter than me, once said this phrase that I really believe: be kind to people and ruthless to the institutions that rule over me and you. Brian Thompson was a violent man, condemning people to death for no other reason than a percentage point of profit. And violence begets violence, on and on. Nobody else has to die this way. We can stop anytime we want. Some acts of violence we excuse, other acts of violence are headline news. But it's all just choices people make within a system we did not choose or create. I could choose not to pay my taxes, so I'm not complicit in a genocide. No, the cobalt in my computer was mined by slaves in the Congo. There's a spectrum of violence, and we are all on it. Unless you live in the woods like you're some kind of hermit. It's all just choices made by humans and systems.